the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about the follow-up. We did a first impression video on the Nemo OSMO Hornet tent. It's a one-person tent. And we did a first impression video. This is the follow-up video. We've taken the tent out, used it on an overnight backpacking trip, and I'll give you my thoughts. So is it really worth the $400 to buy this tent, plus the $60 for the footprint if you go into that? Like I said, the MSRP for this tent on Nemo's site is $399.95, plus the footprint is $59.95. So you're talking $460-ish with tax, depending on where you're at. In Pennsylvania, it's a 6% sales tax, so I forget what I paid offhand, but I bought both of the items at REI, one online and one in the store. And my personal experience, we'll get into that in a minute. The pros that I found for the tent are that it is very lightweight. You're talking less than 1.5 pounds total pack weight for this tent. I have a 2-person tent that I also have, which packs in at around 5 pounds, so you're saving almost 3.5–4 pounds of weight with this lightweight tent. It makes it great if you're looking for a small tent that you want to put in the very bottom of your backpack. It fit great in the stuff sack bottom part of my 55-liter pack that I have. Another pro to this tent was that it was, simple to assemble. It's a single pole design in the shape of a Y. Everything clicks together with the pole relatively easily. Made it very easy for assembly of the tent itself. The rain fly was a bit of a challenge just to get the orientation correct, but once it was figured out, it wasn't a big deal. Both on the original video that I have up on the channel of the first impression, you can see the time lapse of me putting it together, as well as while I was on the trail. It was not a big deal to figure that out. The stakes that come with the tent are a very good quality. Normally you get the cheap stakes that are very easy to bend if you hit a rock or something like that. These are very sturdy stakes, as well as the paracord that's attached to the tent to secure the stakes and the tent together. One big thing is definitely purchase the footprint. We're going to get into that in just a moment here with the cons of the tent that I found. So with that, anyone of a larger build, by larger build, myself, I am 6'1" and about 290 pounds. This tent was like sleeping in a coffin. They do say it's a one-person tent. For me, though, however, I could not. There was no ability to stretch out. I felt like I was very confined in the tent. My broad frame with my shoulders, I was touching each side regardless of the way that I slept. It was very, very confined. So if you're claustrophobic and you're looking for a tent that's small, I would recommend going with at least a 2-person tent and suffer the extra weight with that. The second thing I noticed with this tent, the zipper for the doorway to get in and out of the tent, it jammed in the material multiple times, and I was afraid with how thin this material was that it was going to rip the material itself. It did not rip. I was able to finesse it out of the zipper, and it was not bunched up after the fact, and it only gave me a couple problems throughout the one evening that I did use it. The bottom of this tent is incredibly thin, so without that footprint, I was afraid that I was going to pierce the bottom of the tent. So definitely, if you're going to go with this tent, buy that $60 footprint, because even with the footprint, I could still feel everything on the ground. Rocks, dirt, whatever, loose dirt, leaves and whatnot. I could physically feel that through the bottom of the tent. That's how thin it was. That being said, the bottom of this tent is incredibly slick. The bottom that you physically sleep on is incredibly slick, to the point where if it's on any type of incline, which my tent was on a minor incline because it's almost impossible to find a completely level spot in the wilderness, my sleeping mattress, my little sleeping pad that I have, physically went to the bottom corner of the tent and balled up in the corner, and I was sleeping on just the sleeping bag. So that was an issue. I tried several different ways of sleeping. I tried putting my head at the foot end, and it was the same thing. Everything tried to bunch up, and there was no ability to stay stationary in this tent regardless of the way that I slept. And again, it's a very, very tight configuration. Obviously that saves you weight, so if you're trying to save weight, that's perfect for you, but for me it was not. Moving down the line here, putting it back into the stuff sack was a problem. Stuff sack is very, very small, obviously, to, again, save weight. Getting it folded and put back into the stuff sack was difficult. It was manageable. It wasn't perfect, but it went back into the sack, and we packed out that day due to an injury on myself. I rolled my ankle, so we weren't able to finish the last 2 days of the trip. Again, just in conclusion, for somebody who's small framed, not 6 feet tall, not 290 pounds, built like me, this may be the perfect tent for you. For larger build people, I would recommend a 2-person tent, or exploring Nemo's other options tent-wise and see what would work for you. For the price point, in my opinion, you're spending almost $500 on the tent and the footprint, just the tent and the footprint, with the rain fly, the poles, and everything else. I personally would not recommend it for a 1-person tent. I did not have a good experience with the Nemo OSMO Hornet 1-person tent. However, that may not be the case for everybody else. Just my personal opinion, I would not waste the almost $500. And since that backpacking trip, I've actually returned the tent and the footprint to REI. I got a full refund because I had purchased it prior to a year ago. I'm a member at REI, so I have that perk. Make sure that your site is almost perfectly level with this tent, again, because if not, you're going to slide into the corner like I did, and it was incredibly uncomfortable. And realistically, I'm curious for the viewers, what kind of tents you guys use on your hikes or your overnight trips. What do you guys think works best? I'm very curious. Like I said, this channel, I only get to test the things that I purchase. I have a $40 Amazon tent upstairs that I bought when I first started getting into camping and backpacking, that, in all honesty, I would have rather preferred having that 2-person $40 Amazon tent on this backpacking trip rather than this almost $500 Nemo OSMO Hornet. So in the comment box, let me know what you use, what you pack in, what the weight is, what your pros and cons are, if you feel like leaving a comment. Please subscribe to the channel. We're really trying to get above 500 subscriptions. We're at about almost 300 at this time. So I appreciate everybody that's watching my videos and hopefully learning something from them. If you want to see the original video of the first impression and the time-lapse of this tent being put together, that's in previous videos as well. And thank you again for watching. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And again, please subscribe.